Today, we're diving deep into a fascinating study that finally answers a really big question in neuroscience. What exactly happens to a woman's brain during her second pregnancy? For the first time, science is giving us a clear picture. So let's get right into it.
So we've known for a while now that a first pregnancy triggers this incredible period of brain reorganization. These changes are especially noticeable in what's called the default mode network, which is all about how we think about ourselves and other people. But what happens next? What about a second time? That's been a major blind spot in our understanding.
And that blind spot leads us to this really core question. Does the brain just hit replay on the program from the first pregnancy, or is it doing something totally new, a different kind of adaptation? This study was designed to finally figure that out.
Now, to solve a mystery like this, you can't just take a casual look. The researchers needed an incredibly careful and detailed plan. So let's see how they built their blueprint for discovery.
Okay, so the design here was really clever. It was prospective, which is just a way of saying they scanned women before they even got pregnant. They had 3 groups, 40 first-time moms, 30 second-time moms, and a control group of 40 women. And here's the crucial part. They didn't just look at one thing. They used a whole suite of different MRI techniques to analyze everything: gray matter, white matter wiring, how different brain regions talk to each other, the whole shebang. This gave them a picture with unprecedented detail.
All right, so what did all this data actually show? Well, first, let's look at the similarities, the things that happened in both pregnancies. This is the shared blueprint of what it means to become a mother.
Now, what's really fascinating is that both groups saw a significant reduction in their cortical gray matter volume. That's what you see in blue here. But look at the pattern. For first-time mothers on the left, that change is spread out across a large area. For second-time mothers on the right, the change is much more localized, much more focused. In fact, the affected area is 79% smaller.
So where do these changes overlap? It turns out they converge right on the default mode network, which is highlighted here. You can think of this as the brain's hub for your sense of self and for social thinking. The fact that it gets reshaped in both pregnancies tells us it's absolutely central to the process of maternal adaptation.
But here is where things get really interesting. The biggest discoveries in this study aren't in the similarities, they're in the differences. This is where we start to see a truly distinct neural signature for a second pregnancy.
80%. Just remember that number for a second. It is the key to understanding just how different these two experiences are for the brain.
So what's that 80% all about? It means the pattern of brain changes was so unique to each group that a machine learning model could look at a scan and correctly identify whether a woman was a first-time or second-time mother with 80% accuracy. That's not just a minor variation, folks. That is a fundamentally different biological signature.
And this slide shows us exactly where those differences are. You see, a second pregnancy, and only a second pregnancy, is marked by these specific changes in the sommital motor and dorsal attention networks. In plain English, these are the brain systems for paying attention and responding to the world around you. Which makes perfect sense, right? It's a clear adaptation for the increased demands of caring for more than one child.
The differences don't stop there. They even extend to how the brain functions. In first-time moms, that default mode network gets a major upgrade. It becomes much more coherent, much more tightly connected. But in second-time moms, that network is stable. The upgrade has already happened. This time, it's about fine-tuning, not a complete overhaul.
We even see this split in the brain's actual wiring, the white matter. The first time around, the changes are in pathways related to language and social thinking. The second time, however, the changes are in the corticospinal tract, a major highway for motor skills and sensory info. The focus of the brain's adaptation has clearly shifted.
And this table just sums it all up perfectly. From widespread versus focused gray matter changes, to different networks being affected, to functional shifts, to different white matter wiring, across every single domain they measured, the evidence all points to the same thing. A second pregnancy is a unique biological process.
Okay, so this is all fascinating neuroscience. But what does it actually mean for mothers in the real world? It turns out these brain signatures have direct relevance for maternal behavior and mental health. Let's explore that.
For first-time mothers, the size of these brain changes strongly predicts how they'll bond with their new baby. But for second-time mothers, that link isn't nearly as strong. And it makes sense, right? The foundational bonding behaviors are already in place, so the brain doesn't need to drive their formation quite so intensely.
The connection to mental health is also incredibly different.
For first-time moms, brain changes are most strongly linked to psychological distress after the baby is born. But for second-time moms, that link actually peaks during the pregnancy itself. The researchers think this could be tied to the unique stress of caring for a child while also being pregnant with another.
So you take all this evidence, the things that are the same and all the things that are different. And what does it all add up to? Well, the researchers propose a really elegant concluding theory. They call it the fine-tuning hypothesis. Think of it this way. The first pregnancy is like a radical system-wide overhaul, especially in the default mode network, to establish a new maternal self. The second pregnancy is different. It's more of a targeted upgrade and adaptation, focused on efficiency and on sharpening the brain's ability to handle the complex external demands of a growing family.
So what's the ultimate take-home message here? It's that parity, how many times a woman has given birth, leaves a unique and cumulative mark on her brain. A second pregnancy isn't a rerun, it has its own distinct neural signature. The brain's focus shifts from reorganizing the self the first time to managing the world the second time. And ultimately, these changes just show the brain's incredible capacity to adapt to the growing complexity of motherhood.